Good evening. This regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of Socorro ISD is being held May 19th, 2020. The time is 6 p.m. This meeting will be held by teleconference. The teleconference audio can be accessed at the following toll-free number, 1-877-568-4106, or using the access code 707-057-149, and through an audio feed located at our YouTube channel. Any member of the public wishing to comment on an agenda item can send the comments to the following email address, board-questions@sisd.net. All backup material and for the meeting can be accessed at our SISD.net website. On March 16th, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request by Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend a limited number of open meetings laws to the extent necessary to allow telephonic or video conference meetings in response to the coronavirus. In accordance with those suspended rules, we certify the following. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. Number one, although members of the board are not gathered in a central physical location, we do have a quorum in attendance at this meeting by telephone call and internet access. Number two, we are meeting by use of both telephone conference call, online access, and through use of an email link for questions. Number three, if a member of the public submitted written comments in advance, the board president or a member of the administration will read the comments into record before or during the board's consideration of that item. If you would like to write a comment at a future meeting conducted by video conference or telephone call, please follow instructions on the meeting notice. Number four, all other meeting procedures will adhere to board adopted procedures to the extent practical. Number five, an audio recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. Number six, we apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigated unprecedented conditions. And number seven, if you have questions about these suspended laws, please call the Office of the Attorney General at 888-672-6787. And now I'll do a roll call to ensure that we have a quorum. Ms. Rodriguez? Here. Mr. Guetta?
Present.
Mr. Gondeta?
Here.
Mr. Garcia?
Here.
Mr. Mena?
Present.
And Mr. Morales?
I'm here.
And thank you. And now we will start our meeting. Board members, if you can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which is being led tonight by Ms. Melissa Barham.
Good evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Parham. And now item number 3, superintendent's comments. Espinosa?
Yes, President Nájera and members of the board. I'm very happy to announce that we want to wish Trustee Paul Guerra a very happy birthday. His special day will be on Saturday, May 23rd. So make sure you have a great and safe birthday with your family, Mr. Guerra.
Thank you.
All right. Also, President Nájera, members of the board, during one of our recent meetings, we read a public comment from Araceli Jimenez, our awesome nurse at PDN, Paso del Norte, in which she asked if SISD could help support El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank during this challenging time for many families. And after the meeting, our team worked with Ms. Jimenez to partner with the food bank. And as a result, we're excited to launch our SISD Cares Fund this week. But also the Paul Foster Family Foundation and Mountain Star Sports Group Foundation have agreed to match all donations made to the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger up to $1 million. So we'll be promoting and informing our community on how to donate via our website, social media pages, and through the Paso del Norte Community Foundation webpage. As a team, we're going to continue to look for ways to help our community during this challenging time. So I want to thank our campus and district leadership teams as well for working with numerous outside agencies to advocate for our needy families. As a matter of fact, we have sent out surveys to our community to learn more about the critical needs that our families are facing right now. And we also sent a parent survey yesterday to all of our community to gain feedback from our parents' perspectives in regards to what learning model they prefer, since I'm thinking that we will still be faced with many uncertainties as a result of the pandemic. And on the survey, we asked our parents, what their preference was among choices that included online learning, a combination of online and on in-person learning, as well as the traditional learning model in which students come to school every day. And we just sent that survey out yesterday. I think it was yesterday around 5 p.m. And already we have over 3,000 parents who have completed it. So I think that speaks volumes of our commitment to make every single voice count in our school district. Our goal continues to ensure that our students' academic success in a safe and supportive learning environment. So we'll be working with our stakeholders to include community input in our decision-making process. So I also want to acknowledge our teachers and parents and our entire staff for working as a team to make remote learning a success in our school district. Speaking of achieving success as a team, I also want to acknowledge our board members and also our employee associations, for working with our district leadership team to ensure the physical and emotional well-being of our valuable employees, as well as supporting our budget proposals that will ensure our district continues to thrive even during this crisis. While insurance premiums were raised in other districts, and who knows, maybe even they were raised quite a bit. Well, no, they were raised, and they offer less contributions to employees' health benefits in our district. Our leadership team chose not to raise the insurance premiums this year in order to ensure our employees and their families could have the medical assistance they need during this unprecedented time without an added financial burden. So I'm very proud and extremely grateful to work with such dedicated individuals that truly care about our students, employees, and our school district. Also, traditionally, each month at our board meeting, we honor outstanding Team SISD students and staff who have earned local, regional, statewide, and also national accolades. And we always recognize them, but obviously due to the current situation, we haven't been able to bring in those exceptional individuals and teams. However, they're still deserving of a moment in the spotlight for their outstanding achievements. And to honor our students and staff, this spring we are posting a special recognition article on our website along with an animated presentation. So we're going to be posting it on our district social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And we ask that you all please share the stories and post with your family and friends to help us applaud our high-performing students and staff. We look forward to the day that we can all be together again for board honors and special presentations, team. That concludes my comments for this evening, President Nájera. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Espinosa. This is all great news for our district, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Item number 4, Board of Trustees Business A, consider and take action to elect and install board officers for the Board of Trustees. Number 1, Board President.
President Nájera, this is Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes, Ms. Rodriguez.
I'd like to nominate Cindy Nájera to continue serving as president of the Board of Trustees for SISD.
President Nájera, this is Mr. Guerra.
Yes, sir, Mr. Guerra.
I just second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. I have a motion by Ms. Rodriguez and by Mr. Guerra to appoint Cynthia Nájera as board president. Roll call now for this vote. Ms. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Guerra?
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta?
Aye.
Mr. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. Mena?
Aye.
And Mr. Morales?
Aye.
And the motion carries. Thank you all so very much. I am honored. And we'll move on to Vice President now.
Ms. Nájera, I would like to nominate David Morales for Vice President.
President Nájera, I got a second. Paul Garcia.
I have a motion by Mr. Mena and a second by Mr. Garcia to appoint David Morales as Vice President. And I'll do a roll call for the vote now. Ms. Rodriguez,
Aye.
Mr. Guetta,
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. Mena,
Aye.
and Mr. Morales.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Morales.
Thank you.
And item number 3, Board Secretary.
President Nájera, I would like to nominate Mr. Paul Guerra as secretary.
President Nájera, can I also nominate someone else?
No, sir, we have a motion and it has to be completed.
Mrs. Nájera, I second the motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Rodriguez and seconded by Mr. Gondeta to nominate Paul Guetta as secretary. And now the roll call for the vote. Ms. Rodriguez,
Aye.
Mr. Guetta,
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. Mena,
Aye.
and Mr. Morales.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Guetta.
Thank you.
Normally, we would change chairs around now, but we'll just stay where we are for the time being. We'll move-
President Nájera,
Yes, Ms. Rodriguez?
if I may, I'd like to go ahead and change my seat now, if you don't mind. I'm going to move to the other side of my living room.
Okay, that sounds fine, Ms. Rodriguez. And item number 5, district reports. A, facilities report. Mr. Ironton.
Good evening, President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. Tom Ironton, Chief Operation Officer for the district. My report begins on page 9 of your booklet, and I'll go through this. We do have some pictures to show you if you have not been out and around. Construction is continuing during our pandemic. Our first project is Socorro High School on page 10. Socorro High School is coming along. We're finalizing the first package 1, which was the early phase site, softball, baseball, parking, and that is really moving fast and furious. We're into package 2, which is the building portion, demolition and new construction. We are pouring concrete early in the morning at actually all of our sites. We are continuing with the rough-in underground. Tennis courts are nearing completion. The parking, the student parking is completed. The band practice areas are completed. The additional basketball court is under construction. And the rock fence is beginning. If you would turn to page 11, you notice there is a big tower crane located on the site. This is going to be at the site throughout the duration of the project. Up against the 2 buildings that you see in the background, we've had concrete pours and our slab pours. You can tell on some of the pictures, we've got all of our structural steel, reinforcing steel, actually our reinforcing steel on site for additional pours. Turning to the next page, 12, You can see the tennis courts are completed and fenced in. Page 13 shows you an overview looking back from Rio Vista back towards the school. You can see the parking lot is completed and striped. The only things lacking there is the landscaping and lighting. On page 14, you can see that more parking and the rock walls are under construction. Our next project, Montwood High School, we are moving forward on that, making a lot of good progress. Steel erection, elevator shafts and things like that are going up. We are pouring slabs in the theater. Black box area demolition is going on. And then we're doing second floor rough-ins on the science lab since the students are not in the building. The new cafeteria area, demolition, wall framing, and slab is going on. And we are also working in the special education rooms. Turning the page 16, you can see that we are working on the inside of the building. The existing theater is being demoed, and you can see the demolition in the kitchen at the serving line. Page 17, you can see the structural steel and the stage foundation being poured, the structural steel in the foreground being erected, and then we've got the common areas where we've got framing going. Next project is American High School. This project y'all awarded or approved the GMP a couple of months ago. We have gotten all of those prices in, and the prices have come in really well. And we were bidded, during the base bid, we had some alternate bids. So we have funding available to possibly do some of those alternates that were not a part of the base bid. But that project is getting ready to start moving. If you turn to page 19, you can see that we are staging the area. We've got fencing up, and we are going to get start our foundation work on the building at America's High School. The next two pictures shows that. El Dorado High School is moving along good too. We are working on the interior of the buildings with the students not there. The new construction, we're pouring slabs, and we're starting to put up panels, tilt up panel. We're working on the classrooms, the science lab, putting excavation, the choir and the guitar building. We are working on drainage around that. We're beginning to re-roof a portion of the building since there's no students in it. And we're doing a lot of interior work because of the students are not there as far as the demolitions in the band hall and special ed room. On page 22, you can see that there's a lot of foundation site work going on with the storm drainage and then the irrigation of the front ponding area. The new plumbing on page 23, the new plumbing in the concession areas, and then we've got tilt wall panels preparing to be poured at El Dorado. On page 24, you can see that we're doing a lot of demo work in the band hall room expansion in the interior of the building, and when we're doing demolition continual in the band room. The next project is the student activity complex. That project is on the drawing boards. We are meeting with the city to replat it and do annexations for that property, the property that we bought for the addition. Page 26 shows the master plan. That has not changed any, and that's the master plan that we will be working for towards once this fall when we get into the actual design and working drawings so we can put it out to bid. Our 16 auxiliary gyms are package 1. Benito, Afita Chavez, Helen Ball, Luan Chavez, O'Shea, Keller, and Ituarte are coming along. We are actually at various stages. The pictures on page 28 shows Benito. We show CMU walls going up. Afita, we see that slab has been poured. On the next page, 29, Helen Ball, we've got foundation work going on. And Luan Chavez, we've got a lot of the CM walls coming up on those first packages. O'Shea, Kelleher, and Ituarte. O'Shea, we've got the slab pour. Ituarte, we're working on preparing that slab for its pour. The second portion of that package, the auxiliary gym package 2, which consists of Vista del Sol, Horizon Heights, Loma Verde, Murder Cooper, and Sierra Vista, are all beginning to move. Horizon Heights, we've been relocating a lot of the underground that's around and would have been under the building. Loma Verde, you see we got site work going on, getting ready for foundation work. And Murder Cooper and Murder Cooper, we're working on bringing some of these restrooms that's sat for a long time and not being used. So we are renovating those restrooms to bring them about for the use for the facilities. And then Sierra Vista, you can see that we're starting the site work, the site foundation, and doing some demolition on the site. Vista del Sol, the same thing. We're beginning the site work and begin the foundation work. The remaining package of the auxiliary gyms, Campestre, Escontrias, Hilly, Waco, and Rojas, will be going out for bid in probably late June, July, to be awarded hopefully in the August board meeting, and then we will start construction on those to bring the end of those 16 campuses. Our next project is the support service technology facility, which is being built next to our existing DSC. That project is coming along. If you have not driven by the DSC, you'll be surprised that you'll see walls coming up. You'll see the elevator shaft. You'll see CMU walls coming up for the storage area and the knock area. All the structural steel has been delivered to the site and will be started to be erecting in the next few days. Page 37 shows some of those CMU walls. Page 38 shows that some of the remaining slabs are being poured at the support service facility. Our new project, the combo school for the East Lake area, we've got some design development, design slides to show you. That project has been moving along. The administration cabinet met a couple of weeks ago to review the design of the project. And if you would turn to page 40, I know it's a small site plan, but that shows the acreage, the 35-acre acreage that the new combo school will be built on. The bottom portion of the page, you can see Bob Hope Drive, and then up on Pelicano is up north of that. We have the facility laid out like a normal combo school, where the elementary school is on one side and the middle school is on the other side. We do have it separated between the campuses, similar to what we've done in the past. Page 41 shows a first floor overall plan. The area on the right-hand side of the page is the elementary school. in the area on the left-hand side is the middle school. And you'll see similar design features that we've had in our previous elementary school being incorporated in this new combo school. 42 just shows you that is a two-story structure where the classrooms are on either end of the building. The next page, 43, shows a aerial view of the site and the building, how it will set on the side. The next page, 44, is the entrance to the elementary school. Next page is the entrance to the middle school. And that's basically our new combo school, which will be started construction this summer. Our last project, I believe, that I have to report on is the Eastlake High School, Pebble Hills High School sports sliding and field modification. We are trying to get contracts signed so we can start on that project with the CEA group. They're the group that the board approved last month, and we will start on that project. CEA has worked with us before. They actually did the baseball fields at PDN for us 2 or 3 years ago. President Nahara, that ends my report. I'll answer any questions.
Are there any questions at this time for Mr. Arrington?
Ms. Nájera, Gary Gándara,
Yes, Mr. Gándara.
Mr. Arrington. Of course,
Yes,
you
sir.
know I love you. You know I love the pictures you posted of Socorro High School
Yes,
and that beautiful parking lot.
yes.
Yet I knew there was supposed to be something built right on the side of the parking lot, yet I don't see it there.
Okay, you didn't hear me. And that's the
Okay, I
very
didn't hear.
first that, let me go back to the,
I maybe I didn't hear it, but I was looking for a picture.
I know, I don't have a picture yet. The basketball courts are under construction, and I will have a picture for them next time. But they've been approved and they will start construction.
I understand. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Arrington.
Thank you.
Before we move on to the next item, I believe we have a letter from Mr. Tom Lane. Ms. Macias, will you read that letter?
Yes, President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. The letter reads, on May 14th, 2020, the Austin American-Statesman newspaper published an article, Coronavirus Pandemic Hammers Texas School Budgets, which shows a concern for decreased state funding due to falling oil and gas prices, with state agencies already advised to cut budgets, with school districts in Austin concerned about falling property valuations and lower property tax collections, which would have the most significant impact in 2021. In El Paso County, the city of El Paso is cutting its budget by tens of millions of dollars. What steps is Socorro ISD taking to account for expectations of reducing state funding, decreased property valuations, and decreased property tax collections? Respectfully, Tom Lane.
Thank you, Ms. Macias. And to go along with that, we will continue with item B, the cost associated with the district closure. Mr. Reza.
Thank you. President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. I am Tony Reza, Chief Financial Officer for the Socorro Independent School District. On March the 16th, 2020, the Board of Trustees of the Socorro Independent School District, as a result of the emergency closure, approved a revision of DEA local, which included that continuing compensation and wage payments to all employees as identified during the meeting who would otherwise suffer a loss in pay due to the district's closure serves the public good by limiting the spread of COVID-19 in the community. The board further concluded that those non-exempt employees deemed essential to work would receive premium pay, which serves the public purpose by maintaining morale and provides equity between idle employees and those employees providing auxiliary and emergency services. Furthermore, on April the 11th, 2020, the board approved a resolution stating that the payment of premium pay to non-exempt employees who provide auxiliary and emergency-related services would be suspended as of May the 30th, 2020. The administration is providing this cost report illustrating the expenditures associated with the district closure. And these are expenditures (48) and 49. And if you look at those, that information, you'll see the cost associated with the closure. I want to remind the board.
I'm sorry about
that
President Nahara. President Nahara, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Guerra.
Mr. Dessa, for some reason, you were just disconnected on the dollar amount. Can you go back, please?
Certainly. If you look at page 49 of the report, that lists the dollar amount for categories, which is premium pay, idle part-time employees, substitutes, the fringes associated with it, and the grand total. So what I want to inform the board is that certain categories of employees that are listed here, at the end of the school year, we ordinarily do not pay them because the year ends. So with respect to substitutes, they get paid through the end of the school year, as well as part-time employees like crossing guards, monitors, part-time bus drivers. So their pay would end because normally the school year has ended. And so you'll see the expenditures that are listed there on page 49 of the report. Are there any questions with the report? And again, this is for informational purposes for the Board of Trustees.
Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Reza. Also, Dr. Espinosa and Mr. Reza, can we please contact Mr. Tom Lane in regards to his letter?
Yes, we will.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
President Nahara, this is Mr. Guerra.
Yes, sir, Mr. Guerra.
I spoke briefly to Mr. Dessa. I do have a question in regards to the premium pay. So for the summertime, we will continue to pass out food during the summertime, correct?
Yes, sir, we will do so. And our child nutrition personnel, they do get paid their regular pay. So they work 10 months, but their pay is spread out through 12 months. However, we do pay them extra if they work in the summer based on a rate that's approved by the child nutrition program. And so they go get that over and above their regular salaries for those who work.
Ms. Nahara,
So
Yes,
this
sir.
is still we're still during the pandemic, so this will not be considered premium pay for them?
No, sir, we're stating that it would end as of May the 30th.
Ms. Nahara,
Yes, sir, Mr. Arrington.
the summer school program takes over after the last day of school and only goes through the end of June, 30 days in June. So meals will be served during the 30 days like we've always done.
Any other questions?
President Nahara, this is Mr. Guerra again. So, Mr. Dessa, can you explain to me then, what is the difference from the summer pay for CNS workers and the premium pay?
The summer pay is a stated rate that they work. It's not time and a half for the hours that they're working. That is the difference between premium pay. Premium pay is time and a half for the hours that they work. The summer food service program is, in a sense, kind of like a set rate that's paid for the hours that they've worked.
Ms. Nahara, this is Tom Inkton again. It is extra duty paid at the employee rate for the summer, and it's volunteered.
Mr. Garcia, did you have a question?
That was a question I had. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, then we will move on. Before we start consent agenda, Ms. Macias, I believe we have a letter from Tommy Hill.
Yes, ma'am. President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. Consent agenda item 6I. TASB in fiscal year 2014, a TASB study was done regarding compensation on all employee positions, and employees did not get their years of service credited to their pay. As a result of this, we had employees with 5 years of experience making the same as new employees with no experience. I am writing this email in hopes that we do not have a repeat of 2014 and that employees get paid their years of service this time around. From Mr. Tommy Hill.
Thank you, Ms. Macias. And now we will go to item number 6, consent agenda. Are there any items to be pulled?
Yay.
Sorry, you don't celebrate too soon. I have 2 items to pull. Item 3B and item I. Do I have a motion?
President Nájera, this is Ms. Rodriguez. I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda with the exception of
3B and
3B.
I.
Sorry, I was like, okay, where did I put it? 3B and I.
And do I have a second?
President Nájera, Paul Garcia, second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Rodriguez and a second by Mr. Garcia to approve consent agenda with the exception of items 3B and I. Ms. Rodriguez?
Are you taking the vote?
I'm taking the vote just for the consent agenda. Yes, ma'am.
Aye.
Mr. Guerra?
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta?
Aye.
Mr. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. Mena?
Aye.
And Mr. Morales?
Aye.
And the motion carries. And we'll move to the first pulled item, which is 3B. Texas Tech University for Principal Residency Grant Program. Ms. Zapata, can you explain this grant and what all it offers our soon-to-be principals?
Sure. Good evening, President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, and members of the board. Elisa Zapata, Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education. This is an MOU between Texas Tech University and Socorro ISD. We applied for this grant. It's called the Principal Residency Grant offered by TEA this past fall, and we were awarded this grant. And we are really excited because the grant provides 3 educators in our district the opportunity to earn a master's degree in educational leadership from Texas Tech University and their Texas Principal certification. We're super excited because this grant also pays for the tuition and cost of their master's degree. So each of these 3 educators, which will be known as principal fellows, will have their education paid for. They also have a mentor principal in our district, and each of those fellows will spend a year with their mentor principal working on hands-on projects such as leading POCs, working with data, understanding work such as student accountability, budgets, looking at things through administrators' viewpoints. So we are very excited. It also ties into our core values of providing professional growth for our employees. So it's a little bit about this MOU.
Thank you, Ms. Zapata. This is, I pulled it because I wanted to make sure everyone knew what a great program and asset is to SISD to help us continue to grow our own.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anyone else have any questions? Then I make a motion to approve.
I second the motion. Second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. I have a motion by Cynthia Nájera and a second by Mr. Morales. Roll call for the vote, Ms. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Guerra?
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta?
They called your name.
Aye.
Mr. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. Mena?
Aye.
Mr. Morales?
Aye.
And the motion carries. Thank you so much, Ms. Zapata. And the next pulled item is item I, which is policy CDA. Mr. Reza?
Yes, Mrs. Nájera. TASB is recommending changes to our local investment policy due to House Bill 2706 as well as GASB 84. So you'll see that there's some changes on page 1, kind of discussing bond proceeds and pledged revenue. Also listing the fact that mutual funds, with the exception of bond proceeds and no-load money markets, are allowed. If you go to page 2 of 4, there's also information that states that at least quarterly is required by law that monitoring shall be done. And then on page 4, there is the striking of the fact that we usually provide to the Board of Trustees a year-end investment report. And I'm supposing that TASB is recommending this because we provide the board with quarterly reports. So I understand that perhaps, we're fine if the board wants to continue to provide year-end reports to the board on our investment gains and yields. Any questions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Reza. It is my feeling that although we are getting the quarterly reports, I would still like to see the yearly report. So if we could include that language back, that the board would still receive an annual report.
Yes, ma'am. So if the board would certainly approve the policy with the understanding that on page 4 of the policy, that the portfolio report, all that verbiage would be added back into the policy and the other changes would remain.
Okay, are there any further questions about this policy? And I make a motion to approve policy CDA with the exception of on page 4, the portfolio report that has previously been struck by TASB will be added back into the policy.
Oh, Guerra, second the motion.
I'm sorry, a lot.
I'll second it.
And that was Mr. Mena?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have a motion by Cynthia Nájera and a second by Mr. Mena. And I'll do a roll call for the vote. Ms. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Guerra?
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta?
Aye.
Mr. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. Mena?
Aye.
And Mr. Morales?
Aye.
And the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
We will
you.
move on now to new business. A, consider approval of individual to fill the current vacancy on the SISD Foundation Board of Directors. Ms. Macias.
President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board, the Socorro ISD Foundation met on March 11th, 2020, and unanimously selected Ms. Daniela Avila to replace Mr. George Mora on the board of directors. SISD Foundation wants to thank Mr. George Mora for his 15 years of service to the Socorro for the Socorro ISD Foundation. And he has been a member since 2005. Thank you so much, Mr. George Mora, for your dedication to our students and to our ISD. At this time, the Socorro ISD Foundation recommends Ms. Daniela Avila for the Board of Directors. Ms. Daniela Avila was born and raised here in El Paso, a proud Montwood High School graduate and a UTEP alumni, where she received a bachelor's and master's degree in social work with a minor in psychology. Her goals have always been to help others, especially students. Recommendation for the board for approval at this time.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second the motion, Paul Garcia.
Motion by Mr. Gondeta and a second by Mr. Mena. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Renato, this is Mr. Guerra.
Yes, sir, Mr. Guerra.
I'd like to thank Mr. Jorge Mora for his 15 years of service in the foundation. He's always helped out the foundation, always helped out Mr. Tom Ironton for the golf tournament. And he's a great man, and I'd like to thank him for his service for the foundation and what he's done for Team SISD.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. We do certainly appreciate all of his hard work. I'll do a roll call for the vote now. Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Guerra.
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta.
Aye.
Mr. Garcia.
Aye.
Mr. Mena.
Aye.
And Mr. Morales.
Aye.
And the motion carries. And congratulations to Daniela Avila. Item 7B, consider approval of additional administrator certified and non-certified contract recommendations for the 2020-2021 school year. Mr. Campoya.
Good evening, President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board, Rudy Campoya, Chief Human Resources Officer. And tonight I am recommending the approval of the additional administrator certified and non-certified contract recommendations that you should have received in your Friday packet. There are 2 individuals that are being recommended to receive their contract for next school year. At this time, administration recommends your approval as the item is presented.
Motion to approve, Paul Garcia.
I want to second that. This is David Morales.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Garcia and a second by Mr. Morales. Is there any further discussion? And I'll do a roll call for the vote. Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Guerra.
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta.
Aye.
Mr. Garcia.
Aye.
Mr. Mena.
Aye.
Mr. Morales.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Item 7C, consider approval of additional professional contract recommendations for the 2020-2021 school year. Mr. Campoya.
Good evening, President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. The same thing with this list. You should have received it in your Friday packet. There are 4 individuals in 2 different categories that are being recommended to receive their 2020-2021 contract, and administration is recommending your approval as presented.
Motion to approve, Paul Garcia.
Second, Gary Gandara.
I have a motion by Mr. Garcia and a second by Mr. Gondeta. Is there any further discussion? And now I'll do a roll call for the vote. Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Guerra.
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta.
Aye.
Mr. Garcia.
Aye.
Mr. Mena.
Aye.
And Mr. Morales.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Before we move on to the next item, Ms. Macias, I believe we have 3 letters to be read.
Yes, ma'am. President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. First letter reads, Agenda 7D. I want to thank the board for their consideration of a 2% raise and a $1,000 bonus broken up into 2 payments. The bonus especially helps the hourly employees that won't get paid for 7 weeks on summer break. In transportation, we usually work a lot of hours for the last 9 weeks of the school year due to the end of the year trips to supplement our pay to survive summer break. This year, we do not have that luxury, and that's where the bonus will help significantly for the transportation employees. Respectfully, Mr. Tommy Hill. Second letter reads, Dear school board members, I've taken a look at the budget figures for SISD. Everything I'm seeing shows the district in good financial condition through February 2020, and there's no indication that anything will have significant impact on fiscal year 2020 as it comes to a close in the next couple of months. Though, of course, fiscal year 2020-21 is uncertain due to the national economic crisis. As of January 2020, roughly midway through the fiscal year, the district's revenues and expenditures were on pace with a prior year. Roughly 60% of anticipated revenues already received and roughly 50% of anticipated expenditures spent. As of the end of fiscal year 2019, the district fund balance was $118 million, including an unassigned fund balance of $103 million. Per Socorro ISD board policy, the unassigned fund balance for the district cannot exceed 25% of annual expenditures. As the district notes in the fiscal year 2019 CAFR, the 2019 unassigned fund balance was over 26%. The district notes that if it built additional planned expenditures into the fiscal year 2020 budget to bring the fund balance in line with the district policy. Based on year-to-date financials for fiscal year 2020 from January and February, the district fund balance appears on track to end up well above 25% threshold again at the end of fiscal year 2020, meaning that regardless of the uncertainty around fiscal year 2021 funding, in order to comply with its own policy, the district may still need to spend down a portion of its fund balance in fiscal year 2021, which could be applied to one-time pay increases for teachers and staff or something similar. For fiscal year 2020, the district adopted a $14 million deficit budget to account for the need to spend down some of the fund balance to bring it in line with policy. Obviously, the economic impact of COVID-19 could be significant and may reduce school district revenues in Texas. Fiscal year 2020 base salary cost for the district, including all job titles, is roughly $256 million. Thus far, the district has indicated they were building a 2% equivalent of roughly $5 million if including all job titles. Salary increases into their fiscal year 2021 budget, suggesting that they do not anticipate the impact of COVID-19 to force them to freeze salaries or make drastic cuts. Looking at their year-to-date fund balance figures, I think it's possible that they may have more wiggle room than 2%. 3% of all salaries is closer to $8 million. Still at this stage, there's no financial reason the district can afford more than 2% and no reason they couldn't consider the retention bonuses aside from the concern for potential reductions in revenues for fiscal year 21 and fiscal year 22. In addition, $510 per student is expected from House Bill 3 for 2021 based on April 2020 enrollment of 47,654 should mean $24.3 million in extra funding for the district. That's equivalent of about 9% of total base salaries that includes all job titles, both administration and staff. I don't see an additional $24.3 million reflected there. The fiscal year 2021 budget looks to project a roughly $10.6 million increase in projected revenues over fiscal year 2020, some of which again appear to be going toward expansion of programs as well as pay increases. The pay increase that they've proposing, 2% off the midpoint, they're saying will cost $5.6 million. So roughly half of the projected increase to revenues over fiscal year 2020. If their accrual 2021 revenue is close to what you suspect, with this additional $510 per student, they may be able to afford a bigger increase. The district also is projecting a $3.5 million deficit for fiscal year 2020-2021, which may indicate they anticipate needing to spend down the general fund by that amount. The budget presentation doesn't make any mention of the economic threat posed by COVID-19, though they do note they anticipate a reduction in local revenues, which I think is likely. Therefore, in consideration to the unprecedented COVID-19 situation, Socorro AFT strongly believes the district can go higher than 2%, but we will be cognizant and precautious. We propose a 2% salary increase to all employees, inclusive of step increase and a 1,000 retention bonus. Half paid ASAP, maybe in August, September, and other half in December. Note, we need to assure the retention bonus this time goes to all employees, not just some. We respectfully urge you to support our proposal. Thank you in advance for your kind consideration. Veronica Hernandez, President of Socorro AFT. President Nájera, board members, Dr. Espinosa, we have one last letter. Good evening, Board President, members of the board, and Dr. Espinosa. As an affiliate of the largest labor union in the nation, our duty is always to advocate for better wages, greater working conditions, and the best employee benefits. With that in mind, we must also consider the financial health of the organization as it will affect the future of its workers and its students. As I have commented to some members of the board, it would have been instructive to see what the cost would have been with an increase of 2.5% or of 3%, and how those percentages would impact the budget. However, with the uncertainty of future revenue, shades of the past recession, and the uncertainty of the national economy, we would not want the district to overspend before we know what revenues will be received. Socorro Education Association supports the proposed increase of 2% with a bonus of $1,000, especially since there will be no increase in the health insurance premiums. Respectfully, Angelica Soto, Socorro Education Association.
Thank you, Ms. Macias. Item 7D, consider approval of 2020-2021 Employee Compensation Plan. Mr. Campoya.
Good evening, President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board.
Mr. Campoya, Ms. Nájera, I apologize. Can I say something?
Mr. Gondeta, go ahead.
And I apologize, Mr. Campoya, but we've been through this. We've all been going through this the past couple of weeks. We got our packets Friday. I think everybody had a chance to go through it. I want to thank our associations for a lot of their guidance. Rudy and everybody else for their input on what we should do. I think we'd just be being redundant to hear it again. I'm going to make the motion that we go with 2% with a $1,000 bonus to include our temporary instructional aids. And that's my motion.
I second the motion, Mr. Garcia.
We have a motion by Mr. Gondeta to approve the compensation of 2% with $1,000 bonus to include the temporary instructional aids. This is seconded by Mr. Garcia, and now I'll do a roll call. Ms. Rodriguez?
Mrs. Nájera, I have a quick question.
I'm sorry, I skipped that part.
I'm sorry?
I skipped that part to ask for discussion. Go ahead, Ms. Rodriguez.
Okay, so just for the record, I want to make sure that I would like for Mr. Campoya to let us know which employees will indeed be receiving the $1,000 bonus, the retention bonus. And I know Mr. Gondeta made the recommendation, made the motion to make sure that our instructional aids are also included. Again, I just want to make sure we're including all of our employees in the 2% raise and the one-time retention bonus. Am I correct in understanding that?
This is Rudy Campoya. So the employees that are temporary, is a group that includes several categories. We have substitute teachers, for example. We have other subs. We also have some of the crossing guards. We have college student workers. We have high school student workers. So last school year, we approved to include the crossing guards. This year, the motion is to include the temporary instructional aides. It will not include any category of substitutes. It will not include any other temporary employees. It will not include college student workers or any other student worker, including college tutors.
Is there any further discussion?
President Nahara, this is Mr. Guerra.
Yes, sir, Mr. Guerra.
In regards to the stipend, I would like to make a motion that we could split the stipend for $500 in August and September and maybe the other in December.
Mr. Guerra, I'm sorry. I have the motion that we haven't voted on about compensation first. If Mr. Gondeta wants to revise his motion.
So moved, Mrs. Nakira, we can do that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Ms. Nahara, I'd like to second the motion for that. It's Mr. Morales.
Thank you, Mr. Morales, but Mr. Garcia has already seconded the motion, but thank you.
Oh, I thought you had to guess.
Well,
No problem.
Okay. And is there any further discussion?
Ms. Nahara, just one last question. I just want to make sure that this does include the crosswalk and monitors, correct?
Yes, sir, it does.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Campoya, Paul Garcia, does this include the TIAs and the Win Academy teachers?
Yes, sir, it does. The TIA is a temporary instructional aid. So yes, it does.
10-4, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Gondeta to approve the 2% increase and the $1,000 bonus to be included for our temporary instructional aid.
This is not here. This is Tony Desta. Can we call it a lump sum payment? And if the board prefers to split it into two parts, we can do that. But can we technically just call it a lump sum payment?
Yes, sir, we sure can. I have a motion by Mr. Gondeta to approve the compensation of a 2% increase and a one-time $1,000 lump sum payment to include our temporary employees. Am I missing?
No, ma'am. I think the board can later decide whether they want to split it into two parts.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. That was the other part of the motion, that the one-time lump sum payment be split into two parts. This motion is seconded by Mr. Garcia, and now I'll call for a vote. Ms. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Guerra?
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta?
Aye.
Mr. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. Mena?
Aye.
And Mr. Morales?
Aye.
And the motion carries. And item 7E, consider approval of Intertech PSI for construction material testing for America's high school improvements. Mr. Iington.
Yes, President Nahara, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board, Tom Iington, Chief Operation Officer. On page 149, we have a recommendation for your consideration to approve Intertech PSI for the construction material testing for America's high school in the amount of $163,569. We have done this, or the board has approved these in the past. These are the companies that come out and do all the proctors. They check all the concrete pours, and so the school districts are required to have a third-party inspection company to do this. The $163,569 would be a max cost We are still negotiating that number down, but we need to get that number approved so we can continue on with construction. Administration recommends approval.
Is Mr. Mena motion to approve?
Yes, sir.
Second the motion, Paul Garcia.
I have a motion by Mr. Mena and a second by Mr. Garcia to approve. Is there any further discussion? And the roll call for the vote, Ms. Rodriguez,
Aye.
Mr. Guerra,
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. Mena,
Aye.
and Mr. Morales.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8. Thank you, Mr. Arrington. Item 8, executive session. The meeting is to be closed for consultation with legal counsel to discuss personnel and real estate matters, to consider administrative recommendations for principal position at Socorro High School and special education occupational therapist, and to consider superintendent's annual evaluation under Texas Government Code sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074. And board members, now will close this meeting. The time is 7:06, and we will go to our Zoom executive session. Okay, we are back in session. I believe we have all board members. Just to make sure, I'll do a roll call. Ms. Rodriguez,
I'm here.
Mr. Guerra,
Here.
Mr. Gondeta,
Here.
Mr. Garcia,
Here.
Mr. Mena,
Here.
and Mr. Morales.
Here.
We are back in session. The time is 9:47. We will continue with new business. 9A, consider approval of administrative recommendations. One, principal of Socorro High School, Dr. Espinosa.
President Nájera, members of the board, administration recommends Ms. Lucero Miranda Reed to assume all the roles and the responsibilities as the principal at Socorro High School.
Motion to approve?
Second, Paul Garcia.
A motion by Mr. Gondeta and a second by Mr. Garcia. Is there any further discussion? And so I'll do a roll call for the vote. Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Guerra,
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. Mena,
Aye.
and Mr. Morales.
Aye.
And the motion carries. And item 9A2, special education occupational therapist, Dr. Espinosa.
Yes, President Nájera and members of the board, administration recommends Ms. Hold on, that's on paper. Ms. Brittany Nicole Alonso to assume all the roles and the responsibilities for this position.
Motion to approve. Second, Paul Garcia.
I have a motion by Mr. Mena and a second by Mr. Garcia. Is there any further discussion? And roll call, Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Guerra.
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta.
Aye.
Mr. Garcia.
Aye.
Mr. Mena.
Aye.
And Mr. Morales.
Aye.
And the motion carries. And item 9B, consider approval of superintendent's annual evaluation. The board did conduct the superintendent's evaluation in closed session, and we now just need to approve it.
Motion
I'd
to
like to make-
approve?
Second,
I have a motion by Mr. Gondeta and a second by Ms. Rodriguez. Is there any further discussion? And roll call, Ms. Rodriguez,
aye.
Mr. Guerra,
Aye.
Mr. Gondeta,
Aye.
Mr. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. Mena,
Aye.
and Mr. Morales.
Aye.
And the motion carries. If there's no further business before this board, we are adjourned. The time is 9:51. I just want to say I miss everybody. I hope everybody is staying safe, and hopefully one day soon we'll be able to get together in person again.